We discovered in the end of the 1990s that people were dying in our backyard here in Arizona. Migrants were dying because of a change in policy by the Border Patrol. And this area became a funnel for a lot of people coming from the north. And they were directed away from the cities into our deserts intentionally, knowing that some of them would die. But they kept coming, and they're so desperate that they kept coming even though people were dying. No More Deaths was started to be a presence in the desert. So we started camps, especially during the hot season from June through September, in the desert 24/7. And people would be out on the trails, walking the trails, looking for people in trouble.
The mission statement of No More Deaths is to end death and suffering in the Sonoran Desert. Primarily what we do is explore and find places, trails that are being used actively, and then leave water for people. The deadliest months here are July and August. It's the hottest. It can reach up to 117 during the day, 120. It's just brutal. And water is what people need, and it's physically impossible to carry enough water to make this journey safely. And so that's what we focus on primarily, is water.
The circumstances that migrants, that Latino migrants have been dealing with in crossing the desert, it feels a lot like the stories of like my family's like past in the Holocaust. It feels like a kind of Holocaust, and so people are really forced into the most dangerous sections of the border. The United States government is utilizing the very unforgiving terrain as a weapon of mass murder. I feel a sense of solidarity with a lot of with all people who are crossing, who don't have very many choices.
But for me, solidarity means listening, and solidarity means standing by someone during that crisis, and sometimes that means giving water. Sometimes that means documenting the abuses that go on once you communicate with a person in Nogales, back in Mexico, after someone's been deported. Sometimes solidarity means fighting racist legislation in town, and sometimes solidarity means We Reject Racism campaign that attempts to change a white supremacist paradigm.
We encountered somebody that had been traveling from Chiapas. Today's the 16th of March, and this young man had began his journey February 27th. He was in a group of about 36, 37 people. The group he was in got caught by Border Patrol, and he doesn't know who all made it or who all got apprehended, but he was walking along Ruby Road, which is about a mile from here, and it's well traveled by Border Patrol, and he was just trying to get, a quick ride back to Nogales, and that's where we encountered him, on Ruby Road. Offered him some services, gave him some food, some water, chatted with him a little bit about his journey, how he's feeling. He looked really tired. He was kind of zoning out, like he hadn't slept for a while.
I had these really kind of confusing feelings of how come I can just fly home for a couple of $100s from El Salvador to Miami, and then from Miami to Boston, and just be home in the matter of hours, when people spend weeks and months and give up their lives to come here, and that just really didn't sit well with me.
But there are a few people in the Border Patrol who are aggressive and who want to slash our water bottles and stop things, and there are some who are abusive to migrants, and we're trying to establish a record of what's happening in those abuses. So there's a certain tension always.
He was 56, and he was from Mexico City, and he had been walking for 9 days, and it was still freezing at night. It was last spring. He had a history of heart condition, diabetes. He had no urine output. He had been vomiting because he drank wash water, the water from the cattle, and he couldn't hold anything down. And when we met him driving, he had found a road, and he was looking for help. He had been left by his group. He'd been walking alone for 4 days. And we called 911, and Border Patrol monitors those cars, and Border Patrol told us that he wasn't going to see medical care.
Bottles of water, like literally life water, slashed. And I can't imagine what it must take for someone to say these lives are worthless, and feel that that is an acceptable decision.
All these gallons of water have been slashed, so there's a lot of volunteers that come out, you know, and spend their whole days hiking these strenuous hills and mountains to put water and food out for our people. And in most cases it's the Border Patrol. It's just been really difficult to see this, because it's, you know, it's simply murder. You know, these individuals are coming out here and preventing others from having access to this water, and being in this hot desert where a lot of people die from dehydration and other heat-related illnesses. I mean, it's just unbearable to see that.
Abuse documentation is part of our work. We interview migrants, especially those who return to Mexico, about their experience with the Border Patrol.
I met an individual who was pregnant, who had attempted to cross the Sonoran Desert to reunite with their family in the United States. And when they were apprehended by Border Patrol, this woman was punched in the stomach, after also another incident of sexual assault by the Border Patrol officer. So
I think it's really different for women. The thing that comes most to my mind is sexual assault. We see evidence of that pretty commonly out in the desert. We see trees with women's underwear torn or bloody or dirty. They're just hung in trees as a symbol, as a trophy for the men who committed the sexual assault. This border and this border enforcement policy creates an environment where women are afraid to go to the police. And the people who are committing the sexual assault know that. They know that women have no legal recourse.
the hardest thing is seeing some of the worst human rights abuses right here in our own backyard.
Most of us are at fault for what's going on in the border, because we have an idea of what's going on, but we choose not to speak up and do nothing about it. I think for us to really change what's going on, we need to speak up and show the people what's really going on down there.
There's a huge human tragedy going on here on the border. We've got hundreds and hundreds of people that are dying every year in this effort to come to America to get jobs.
I would just encourage people to really try and understand what's happening and what people's motivation is for coming here, because I think that media gets it wrong.
We need to resist deportation so families cannot be split up, so those individuals don't have to cross a deadly desert to get back to their loved ones. That we all are on land that is not ours, and for someone to step on it and draw a line is not right.
If we could break down those walls to set you free, we would, 'cause we out here.